guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, good Saturday afternoon, evening, morning. Um, it's officially afternoon for me where I am, and it is officially still morning for Monica where she is. So you guys get ready. We're going to be bringing in the unassailable, unquestionable pod mother of podcasting, which makes her sound old, and she's not. I think she's actually effectively younger than me, but we call her the pod mother in a certain group of friends who are a union of relatively obscure and unknown people. But yeah, so welcome to MBRR Media. This is season 4, episode 6 of Libertarian Lowdown. And ironically, I wasn't planning this. The very first time I had Monica on, it was season 1, episode 6. So we're 4 seasons in, technically, 6th episode in, and Monica is making a reappearance. So, but we're not going to go 4 seasons more before we have her back, because she is absolutely in the top of my listening every week. And then when she adds in the cognitive dissidence show that she does with Hjorve and Parallel Mike, they're top 1. So that's why she's here today. But we'll bring her in just a minute. I want to tell everybody, one, I know I've had some video quality problems. So this morning I ran Ethernet cable for the first time and had connected directly to my router to run Ethernet. So I don't think we're going to have the connectivity issues that we've had. And I wanted everybody to know we were aware of that. When I say we, it's just me and my crew, which is just me and the chickens out back, which I've added since I met Monica the first time. I now have chickens in my backyard, but hush, everybody, don't tell my city. They're illegal. So that's why they're called a freedom flock, folks. But thank you to all the show our channel members. Thank you for doing that. If you are watching on Rumble and you want to become a channel member there, let me know. We'll get that set up for you. If you prefer Rumble, totally understandable. Even though Rumble CEO has turned out to be a giant disappointment. I don't even know what to say about Banjo Bongino. They're playing him like a fiddle in Washington, D.C. right now. But yeah, anyway. So if you're watching on Rumble and that's your preferred platform, great. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to help support the show, be like Suzanne here, who became a channel member and a subscriber for the very first time this morning before the show even started. So thank you, Suzanne, I believe you're out in California too, by the way, Suzanne. So thanks for being here. And Jen Thunder, thank you for the $2 super chat right out of the gate. I am still looking for a show producer level person. My show producers have, the economy is not great, contrary to what we're being told. And especially if you are someone who was counting on having H-1B visas canceled so that you could have a career, you've now been told that you don't have any talent and we have to import talent, despite being told that we weren't going to import talent while we're deporting other people to make America great again. We're also going to be importing 600,000 Chinese students to keep our university system from failing. I don't even, don't even know what reality I'm in anymore. Honestly, I think I fell asleep and woke up in another dimension of the multiverse because I'm just I don't yeah. Um I could bring up all these rabbit trails before I bring Monica in, and then Monica and the last time I had Monica on, we actually had to like forcibly end the show because we hit it off so well. And Monica's smarter than I am. She knows she has a limit. She told me if I have an hour and a half, bro, and I'm done. So we're gonna bring Monica in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share, put this out for your friends to be able to um, really dig into this because Monica has talked about created persons on multiple occasions. She brought it up the very first time that she was here with me. And if you'll note too, Monica would take notes while we're talking. She will circle back to her notes. She is old school. You could tell why she was a lawyer. So so she takes notes, but we're going to talk about what a created person is and why it's important for you to be aware of what created people are. Uh, so yeah, and Jen, to answer your question, what does the job entail? So well, let's put the chat on the screen so people can see while we're going. What does the job entail so you can help look? The job entails just being willing to become a channel membership at the top level of support, which is not terribly expensive for some. So yeah, that's show producer credit. In other words, you get named as being one of the reasons the show stays on. So without any further ado, Monica, I am going to unmute you so we can. Thank you for. I know you're out there in California. They may knock down your door and come in and get you for your incorrect vote at any point out there in the People's Republic of California. So thanks for
Well, I
doing this.
figure the fact that they didn't burn my house down when they had the opportunity, I feel like I'm not really on their radar, which a good shadow banning will certainly solve the problem without having to get your hands dirty. So
You used to be in everyone's feed on Twitter, now X. I call it Twix now.
nice. Yeah.
Because you get the left and the right, the commercials. So I now call it Twix. But you used to be in everyone's feed. I'd see you all the time, and now I actively have to go and hunt you down.
Yeah, that's what they say. Everybody says if they want to see, they have to actually go to my feed. But that was Uncle Elon did that.
Yeah, and I thought he was on our side.
I knew he wasn't on our side. I haven't literally had a tweet from 2018 saying, this guy calls himself a libertarian, but the quote was, I don't believe in government anything except AI. They have to control AI. And I was like, there's no except. Like, I understand, I can change my views or think something's unrealistic, but, no libertarian worth his salt would be like, you just have to regulate this one thing.
Yeah,
If you stop subsidizing it, you wouldn't need to regulate it because it would be organic and probably wouldn't even exist because we don't have like worldwide labor shortage, as you mentioned.
Right. Or we wouldn't have to import 600,000 Chinese students to keep our failing university system alive, which for someone who's graduated from a top tier university, I'm sure that that just has to break your heart to hear that the only way that system is going to survive now is if we import foreign students.
I was just talking about this yesterday with some on one of my shows that my father was totally against me going to college, and I'm the youngest of 9, and my mother, like my other brothers and sisters, all dropped out of high school, but I was like a good student, and I was like a child of the 80s, not of the 70s and the 60s like my siblings. So I was on track to graduate high school, which would have been a first in many years for my family. My father's like, it's a total waste of time and money to go to college, and you'll turn out to be a socialist, whatever. And I said, well, what
was he wrong?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Well, he had too many experiences with my older siblings, but he said, I was like, what if I could go to Harvard? He said, well, if you go to Harvard, it's probably worth the money and the time, but you'll still turn out to be a socialist. And he was a truck driver. It wasn't his money. There's no way of that. So I just gave up and I dropped out of high school, and my mother was upset. And I was like, I'm only going to Harvard. And she talked to the guys at the community college who had an honors program and had transferred one person to Harvard, and they talked me into it. And they're like, we will get you in. And they did. And it was paid for. So, but And it did open, I got a job as an investment banker, which was, I never would have gotten, never even heard of that. I didn't even
Right.
know.
You're,
So yeah, it
I wanted
helped.
to be a lawyer. What's this investment banking
Well,
thing?
then I went to, some guy I was working with. I was like, okay, everybody has to kind of go to graduate school to get the higher level jobs. And he said, go to law school. It's better. Like even if you turn back to be a banker, you'll make more money as a lawyer with a law degree. So I went to the law school. I'm not even sure that was true, but I went to the law school and I got into Stanford Law School, which was amazing. And I was like, oh, we're in graduate school. Like, you don't have to care about your grades. So I didn't care about my grades. Oh my gosh, they're so competitive. I was like, there's only 180 people here. We can all get a job if we just agree not to fucking kill ourselves. And like nobody, because I was an
Nobody would agree.
adult,
No,
like, yeah, I
we're
hadn't
gonna fight
worked.
this out, kid.
Yeah. And no, I got B's. I was like, that's fine. They're like, it's not fine. You're never getting a job. And they were right. You could not get a job. So this is what I did. The business school had a no grade policy, and you weren't allowed to discuss grades with recruiters. So I thought, well, if I can go to the business school, I'll just use their recruiting and then I can suppress all of my grades. And that's what I did. And I got into the business school easily because chicks don't do as well on GMATs. So they were like, wow, like, Malibu Stacy, math is hard.
You,
Like, wow.
you did not become the socialist. You became the anti-socialist
Yes.
through all
And
of that. So.
I was surprised that my father did not have faith in me, but then he was so happy. He liked love. He would have been so happy if he heard me have a radio show where I was like advocating for Ron Paul. He used to send Ron Paul $25 for every campaign, like in the 70s. This is a guy with 9 kids who was a truck driver. But
Right, $25 in the 70s that was a lot of
a lot.
money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of, child of, born in 70, child of the, the 80s, really, that were our formative years.
Hmm.
And before we were all interconnected, and I had told you when I reached back out to you to have you on to talk about the topic that we're going to be talking about, I said, you were one of my linchpins of sanity,
Yes.
because I'm seeing things that I think we were uniquely suited to notice. My friend Josh Slocum from Disaffected had just put out a post on Twitter today that I shared. He goes, "I am a noticer with a capital N," and
That's a little bit of a dog whistle, right?
yeah, but it's one of those things where he too is also a child of the 80s, and we came out of this interconnected local mentality where we trusted to some degree the people around us, and to some degree we all had a little bit of a celebrity fixation because that was who was thrust in front of us, were the celebrities. Even back then, they were, going back to the inception of uh, countrywide radio and countrywide television broadcasting.
Yes.
It was
I
always
remember when
celebrity.
Gannett bought all the local newspapers. Gannett, like, or Gannett, whatever it's
Oh
called.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they bought all the local newspapers. So every local
Right.
newspaper in the country had the
Wasn't really
same
local. Yeah.
profile. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't really local anymore. They were, but they weren't. And so as technology began to outpace us, we were still having all of these people thrust in front of us. It's the standard trope of the American fixation with English royalty. We 250 some years ago, we fought this, this war of secession from the British Empire to remain completely fixated on the British Empire through its royalty. And at a very, young 20 something, I began to realize, where are these people coming from? And the concept of referring to them as created persons, a created person, which is what you were the first person I ever heard, and I don't know if you had
I
heard it from
coined it.
someone. Yeah, you
I have a
coined it.
whole
It's that.
glossary. I coined
Yeah,
stuff.
you.
I'm
Which, by the way, she put.
sacrificial wolves is the
Yeah,
flip side. Sacrificial wolves.
yeah, and she does actually. You put that glossary together somewhere, didn't you? Where people
Yeah, it was
can.
on my website. It's still there, monicapereshow.com. But I was so demoralized in 2018 when WordPress blew out my blog. I never blogged again. So it's all basically just old. I mean, I put my shows on it now, but the
Right.
glossary hasn't been updated in a long time. I used to put so much effort into those articles, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I lost the links, I lost the pictures, I retrieved
Mhm.
the text at the last minute, but I was devastated.
Yeah.
So my glossary is good, but a little bit dated,
You
but
could put
that
it
should
on
be in it.
you could put it on Substack.
Yeah. No, I do. I have to. Here's the thing. So I know this is one of my last like guest appearances for a while, because I can't believe with this fire, all it did was burn like my patio and my fence and all of
Yep.
that.
For those that don't know, Monica survived the fire
Yeah.
this last
Yes.
winter.
It was January 8th.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we came and fought it all day, and like it was just a crazy experience. But I mean, there's just so many contractors or, no good. And there's like so much just congestion in the system and lack of supplies and everything. All I wanted to do was like rebuild my little patio. And then it turned into a cluster of massive proportions. So I am going to I'm going to kind of recreate all this stuff on Substack and get back to kind of my news shows and stuff. But I have to wait until like they
You have to
stop
settle down.
jackhammering in front of my room.
Well,
And literally where I work, they jackhammered all day. I
All day
can't.
long.
When will they stop? When will it stop? Because the foundation of the patio, once we pulled up the tile that got burned, we realized it was like collapsing. So we already pulled up the tile. So now it's just terrible. I mean, I don't want to tell you the details because it's so boring, but that's why there are jackhammers outside my window constantly.
Not to mention the fact that now that, because you guys recently bought this home.
Right. 2 years
So
ago.
so 2 years ago, you buy
all
this.
the equity is lost. Every
Yeah.
penny of that is gone.
Yep.
And,
Thank you, Daddy Government.
Yeah.
That's,
Well,
thanks for fighting that fire.
I do think that they made a decision. If you don't prevent fire up here, it's going to burn. So
you
they didn't
actively
do
have
the
to.
things they were supposed to do, which were minor things, just clearing the brush around the base of the towers, not like the whole mountain. You don't
Right.
have to put the goats up there like Arcadia did. But if they had just done what that was literally in 2022 mandated they do, but they didn't. And I think they wanted it to burn.
Monica, it's not enough to be anti-fire. You have to be actively anti-fire. So
Very good, very good.
yeah,
That's correct.
I am
That is correct.
I am woketh. So you coined this phrase several years ago. Going back, we won't date each other here,
A few years
but
ago,
you go back a few years and you coined the phrase "created person," not to build up in people's minds or in their perception that this person literally came out of a laboratory from a test tube, but to try and begin to understand where the hell did this person come from all of a sudden, because it makes no sense. And I'm going to bring up, you said on cognitive dissonance, the last episode that you guys put out, that you're not one of those people who's out here saying that you don't think Charlie Kirk was deleted. You believe he was.
I did at first. I don't know anymore.
You don't know.
I
right.
just don't know anymore. I
There's
can't know.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, there's right. What?
I don't know.
JFK may be out there somewhere still.
No,
so-
no, I don't.
no. Don't you know? Okay. But there was this young kid who just all of a sudden, right after Charlie was taken off the public scene, this kid just out of nowhere, no one heard of him, but there were people going, "Oh yeah, I've known who he was for a long time." I can't even remember his name right now, and I'm sure you at least have a little bit of a taste of who he was. Like at least saw this youngish teenage looking. I don't know. He's kind of effeminate looking and sounding to me when I've seen him, but he just came out of nowhere, and now he seems to have died off. Like they thrust him out there to see if he would catch, and he didn't. And that's kind of that created person mentality. And one of the ones that I told you we could focus on is one that most people are very comfortable hating, at least on a philosophical level, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Like, like, right. So it's very easy to dislike AOC. I live in Minnesota. It's very easy to dislike Ilhan Omar. I think Ilhan Omar is a created person. I there again, she wasn't like just made, but in a lab,
Yeah.
like in a lab
He's not
somewhere
a
in,
golem.
yeah, she's not at Langley. She wasn't in some laboratory in Langley where they grow. Well, we gotta come up with some sort of female Somali looking gal.
Get
who we
one of
can,
the get one of the drones.
yeah, right.
Like on Star Trek, like put one
the
side, Kirk on one side, and
yeah,
a dummy on the other.
right. So give everybody not an individual per se. We can talk about AOC as an example, but give everybody kind of just your bullet point, and I know you're good at this, your bullet point of what a created person is, and how you can recognize or notice what that person is and why it's important.
Okay, well, two ways to recognize, and then I'll tell you what they are. The two ways to recognize them, I would say, is yes, they come out of nowhere with this, story intact, and they have whatever message it is they have, whatever they're trying to push is consistent ultimately with the welfare warfare super state. No matter what they say, whichever side they're on, they are not saying like what Ron Paul. I mean, there's a chance that Ron Paul was a limited hangout of the most generous purport. Like if he really wasn't for real, if he was there for some other purpose, I
What
could see
what that could be, I don't know, but yeah.
because they say like he does your Masonic hand signs, or his wife is some kind of Mason, so he must be a Mason. I really do not. For me, it's like you shall know them by their actions, whatever. Like he's not. He passes my discernment test, but basically anyone who gets that high up, I wouldn't even think is possible to be for real. But oh my gosh, this dog. I might have to make him leave. But anyway, so
we are dog people on my audience, so don't worry. We're
okay. We adopted him right before the fire, and because it was so quiet up here, and now it's so noisy up here. So they're okay. Let me tell the people to be quiet. Okay, so they are. So generally speaking, like something will not pass the smell test about what they're doing, but it's also this rapid rise and interesting feel good legacy. Like JD Vance, I immediately was like, there are too many boxes to check on this guy from he has this story, this really
crazy backstory, just absolutely nuts.
That happened to get Ron Howard's attention to make a movie out of it.
A book that he allegedly wrote while he was in law school.
Yale Law School, by the way, which was the only law school I didn't get into. Like that is a hard school to get into because you have to be, it's for these created persons, basically. Stacey Abrams is one of my seminal created persons. And the teacher, his law school professor, law school's hard. Like it takes, as I mentioned, like I was like, God, you guys are working too hard. You got to work really hard. And this guy,
what Monica is saying is the TV show Paper Chase is not too far off the mark.
Yeah, I would. No, I mean, it is really, it couldn't be harder. So but the professor suggested he write a book while he was sitting there. And how on earth did he get into Yale? And he met Peter Thiel, went up to him after a little speech at Yale, and Peter Thiel gave him a job he didn't show up at. I was an investment banker. There were times when I would work 40 hours in a row, not 40 hours a week, 40 hours in a row. And those guys, the private equity guys, maybe they don't work that many hours, but they're higher than investment bankers. Investment bankers work for them. These are supposedly the smartest guys in the room. And he gets this on a handshake or just like a hello. And then the guy gives him $100 million. So another earmark is, are these guys is there a conduit to get them money? And one great way to do that is to have them write a book. So I was like, why are the Obamas worth millions of dollars? And my husband said, well, because he wrote that book. I'm like, okay, so he wrote a book and he continues to make millions of dollars every year about this one, these books that 7 billion people are already had their chance to buy. I know when you put up a show, almost all your views are in the first week. They're not, the same number of views forever. So you can see they're getting money somehow, but how are they created? So for me, it starts with, the person has to be identified. There's a way that they are going to be identified. And in
A
JD
marker,
Vance,
per se.
I think I'll give you 2 examples of how I think. Okay, I'll give you a totally different example. Fidel Castro wrote, when he was 12 years old, wrote a letter to FDR. I want to be American. I'll do anything you want. That goes, straight to friggin', I'm being anachronistic, but goes straight to Alan Dulles or Wild Bill Donovan, like whoever's the guy. Like, we have this 12-year-old Cuban kid who wants to work for us. So, maybe Fidel Castro, supposedly did cooperate at first, and maybe he went rogue, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. Maybe his job was to deindustrialize Cuba, like Servando Gonzalez says. But like James Comey, clearly a created person. He plays a role. He's acting. He's not even that good at it. And when he was 17, the government of, I think, New Jersey had to pay, I believe, millions of dollars to a guy who was falsely accused and convicted and all tried for being the Ramsey rapist. It was Ramsey, New Jersey. There was a rapist because James Comey, at the age of 17, swore on a Bible that that he was an eyewitness to this. And there was a whole big story of being, I don't know if he was a captive or something crazy. And it was a lie. And in my mind, if there was any feds involved in that, someone was like, that kid is such an unbelievable liar. We have to get him on our team. And I think with JD Vance, when he signed up for the service, they take all those tests. I think a Congressional Medal of Honor award was given to the guy who MK Ultra Ted Kaczynski for making the assessment of men, which is what is basically a derivative of that, is used to assess anybody who signs up for the service. And I think they looked at his results and they were like, smart, really smart, sociopath capable of memorizing information. Like, I think they look for people capable of memorizing information and who have no conscience.
I think that too, one of the things that stands out is we have this perception sometimes of a lot of these power brokers that, how do I say it? They're outwardly evil. And there is a reality with some of them. Like, they are outwardly evil. They, like Jeffrey Epstein, outwardly evil. Just everything about him reeks of evil. But not every one of these power players absolutely reeks of evil. In fact, a lot of them, they reek of like, wow, this is the kind of thing that I would want my kids to aspire to. And so you take a gay, I did not mean that. That is not what I meant. You take a guy like JD Vance, who comes from this, hillbilly elegy background, is like, he is, this dirt poor, raised impoverished kid who skyrockets to notoriety. And you look at him and he looks like your everyday good guy. You just like, if you want your kids to aspire to be successful, that's what you would want them to aspire to. So you don't look at them and see that, evil. And what the reality for a lot of them is that there's a banality to their evilness. And obviously I'm not the first person to ever say the banality of evil, but it does come down to that, and it bleeds down into the people like Vance are thrust upon, which is us. They thrust us. They thrust these people onto us, tell them, you're going to go lead these people. And by the way, people, you're going to be led by these people. And left or right, we're going to throw these right-wing figures out, and we're going to throw these left-wing figures out, these AOCs and these Alexandria or Ilhan Omar's and
Stacey Abrams is a big one. I think
Abrams,
Zuckerberg, I would say.
Right. And you're going to be led by these people, and we're going to give you all these reasons why these people are right, whether they're on the left or on the right. And what's really going on in there is the manipulation of the population through the doorway that are these created people who quite literally just seem to come out of nowhere. Somebody asked me, well, you're going to talk to Monica about created people. Do you think the Bushes are created people? And you may have an opinion on this that's contrary to mine. I don't think the Bushes are created people. They've always been. In the mafia terms,
they're creators.
They are creators. They are
Yeah.
the made men of the mafia, if you wanted to use that
Yeah.
terminology. Like, they pull the
Yeah.
strings. They reach, the Peter Thiels they're not created people. They are.
I think he is.
You think Thiel is
Yeah,
not?
well, I'll tell you, it's an earmark. Is that, first of all, he was a philosophy major, so he's one of those people who remembers things. Zuckerberg was a classics major. Soros was a philosophy major. These are the guys who are there to promote ideology, and they are. If they make, I have to recall. Well, Thiel was in with Irving Kristol, and that whole
Well, I mean,
gang. I have to
Right, but
recall how he got, his. So you can see with Elon Musk that he got his money through government subsidies. Trump got his money through government subsidies. His father got rich through building projects. His sister was a judge. His uncle was the MIT professor. So these guys. So I have to. I know Thiel was in the PayPal mafia. I would have to go back and look at how it got funded. But generally speaking, what I expect to find with big tech guys is they were, like, many are called and few are chosen.
yeah.
Like with Sergey Brin and Google, there was a Department of Defense contest. And whoever
Right.
won it got $50,000, and whoever didn't win it didn't get $50,000. And then you help them by promoting them because they fit the bill to have the tech, and they make sure that these guys have such an advantage that why were there never any competition with Google, Facebook? These are just, they're monopolies in their niche, and they weren't the first people. If it had been a free market, it wouldn't have been like that. Maybe
Right.
you'd have competing things or whatever. But so Thiel, I think, is of the same kind of thing as Musk.
Yeah. Do you think that
Wrong.
Thiel's
And his
moved?
dad, dad was
Do
in
you think
on.
that Thiel has moved now out of that created into the creator sphere where he is, or do you think he's just a useful tool?
I didn't know. Like, I watched pieces of his Joe Rogan interview, and it's the same kind of, like, they ask him questions about how Social Security should be restructured. I mean, who are these people? Who are these people who can, maybe build something in their basement? Or investment
Yeah,
bankers
no,
are not businessmen. And I think Thiel
right.
started as a finance guy. So he all of a sudden is a tech guy and a business guy and a philosopher and a politician and a world leader who not only can do all those things, but can also have the interview. So I see Zuckerberg and I'm like, okay, so you drop out of school, you figure out the tech, you build this company from nothing to one of the biggest companies in the world. You manage that company, you manage the growth, you manage the innovation, and then you can go in front of Congress in the most polished of manners and also be the guy who explains everything, remembers everything. I mean, these are all is mutually exclusive skill sets. So when you give me everything, I'm going to say the first thing this guy is a face job, or we would not be seeing him. He is here primarily for the interface.
In defense of those people who are saying, well, you guys sound like you're talking about some whacked out stuff. If these people are created people, wouldn't they seem more robotic? And my answer to that would be to contradict Monica and say that Zuckerberg did not look polished. He looked exactly like a robot.
Yes, or a lizard. Yeah, he's laughed at. He's looked at. He's like, "Did you say I was a lizard?" Thiel. This I've had Marcel Goutreau on my show. He's very funny, Mises fellow, and he's like, yeah, they probably wanted Thiel to be the real face job, but he gets like sweaty and gross, and he can't
like
do
a
an
human
Elon
being.
Musk. Yeah, but Elon Musk can really. I mean, he's a better example of that, where he's supposedly running 5 of the biggest companies in the world, and he's getting high all the time. Like, hey, man.
Second wealthiest man in the world now, and
have your hemp. Yeah, I'm totally fine. Get as high as you want. But if you're running 5 companies, so I was in investment banking. I knew people who ran companies, little companies.
But Monica, he's not running them. He's just the guy who's behind them. You know how this works,
I know, but
Monica.
they should not pay him. This is ridiculous. Like, he's not the guy they say he is. That you can tell by
No,
looking at, and all the money came from the government.
they forced this narrative on us that he's
Yeah.
this genius that built this, this miraculous company that can launch rockets and land rockets and
bore tunnels
bore
and,
build his own highway
communicate.
superstructure system underneath Las Vegas, which
Social media too,
that's
and
right.
PayPal, like everything. Like, this guy can do
Single-handedly
everything.
restored the First Amendment to social media. Single-handedly.
Literally was my Twitter life ended when Elon Musk took over. But so when you see something if you've ever known anyone who has run a business, think about whether that person or anybody could do what we are told these people are doing. And then, oh, by the way, he took some time to go to Washington and do the Doge thing, which from minute one, I was like, their own budget projections are higher than this year.
Right.
Any cuts he's making are so minuscule as to have to be compared to the planned increases that were in the budget. It's, like, that was such a farce, but still the idea that
Monica,
they told us
they told us they were going to make the government more efficient. You have to believe that's what.
I don't want that. I want the government to be paralyzed.
Right? Thank you.
I want it to dry up and fall off.
Please give me more shutdown.
Yeah, I do. Right, exactly. I don't want government efficiency. That's scary. That's the Curtis Yarvin stuff. I mean, and doesn't he have a big CIA background? Like, that's the thing. Remember, this is what I've said about Elon Musk since that AI comment 7 years ago, before I even really knew which way was up. Maybe a little bit, but I did. I think it was 2013 when the scales fell from my eyes. Well after 9/11, but well before that. But also with Trump in 2015, I said, this guy doesn't talk about the Bill of Rights. And the thing that launched his campaign was a massive psyop that the media and the government did not totally covered up and played along with, which was the Kate Steinle San Francisco Pier shooting by an immigrant. People don't even remember anymore. It was Kate's Law. Rand Paul advocated for it. It was about gun control. But people didn't realize Trump said the shocking thing about, I'm sure some of them are good people or whatever, the immigrant thing, when he announced his presidency candidacy. And then a month later, there was a psyop that supported what he said. And I had noticed that pattern with Obama all along, just saying, every time he says something happens that supports it. So I knew from June 2015 that Trump was certainly the candidate Big T they wanted. Was he totally created? He wasn't. He was a real failed businessman for many years. And
yes, he was literally a real failure.
Yeah, for 4 bankruptcies. And he laughs about that. Like, I'm just beating the system. Like, you're not beating the system. You're running things into the ground. And he had the advantage of having a casino license with his mob ties. If you're running that into the ground, you're not good at business, which is fine. He doesn't need to be good at business. But it was only what he is good at, which is naming buildings Trump or going on Oprah. Like, he was good at that. And he did The Apprentice. Jeff Zucker groomed him for that.
That right there to me is... You take this person,
creating him.
You're creating him, and he may not fit that your model of
from the beginning.
From the beginning. But Zucker's not Zuckerberg, everybody, but Zucker from
Jeff Zucker.
TV, Jeff Zucker. He sees this guy, he sees Trump, and he says, we can use him. And it sounds all cute and quaint when you're watching weekly to hear you're fired. But the same, I'm going to alienate some of my Trump friends.
Sorry, I love the Trump supporters. They just aren't seeing it. But go ahead.
The thing that they criticize in Vladimir Zelensky, the fact that he was a comedian and a TV personality, that was all fake, to quote the kids today, fake and gay. and in Zelensky's case, true,
Probably true.
is exactly what their guy is.
And the
He-
wrestling. If you don't think that,
exactly everything that they use to advocate, promote, and lift into a position of prominence in Zelensky is exactly what they advocated and promoted and used to lift into a position of prominence for Trump. He was the first model of it in our adult lives that we saw play out.
And I think it went for 14 seasons, which you do a lot of market research to see how people react to your personality and stuff. I mean, that yes, it wasn't, they didn't give him a test when he was 12. I mean, they gave us all a test when we were 12, but they didn't, that I don't think he was chosen until later, but when they were doing The Apprentice, it was definitely, I think, already in the cards that they weren't probably sure what kind of a person they were going to roll out, what kind of personality he was going to portray. Because this is a guy who doesn't drink. I don't believe he uses vulgarity. That thing, grab you by the pussy and stuff, that was absolutely staged.
She said
in
it,
my
not
opinion.
me.
He would not. I don't think he would say that.
not me.
He would never hire prostitutes. He would never have them pee on him. He's a germaphobe and he's a cheapskate. Like, he has a personality. It is not that I think Joan Rivers was killed because she knew his personality and she knew he wasn't a dumb, racist, loudmouth asshole. And she would say stuff like that. I even think they tested her on CNN to see how much shit she would take. And she walked off a live interview on CNN regarding something like wearing a fur coat. It wasn't about Trump, but these are tests.
Well, they pushed her. They absolutely pushed her.
And I think they killed her.
Look at his outbursts just this last spring over Israel and Iran, and when they kept bombing each other, and everybody was appalled that he said, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Everybody was like, what was that?
That was planned.
Right. That was planned, but it was planned in such a way as to literally shock people. That was literally, it was meant to shock people, to set up, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit trail of the whole Palestine and Israel thing, but
I mean, you can, but you don't have to.
Well, that's there again, another show.
Right.
But the reality of it is that to quote the well-known phrase, the whole world's a stage. The whole world is a stage, and everybody on that stage is a player. And we have to really be able to start to ask ourselves these deconstructive questions, not deconstructionism in the sense of sociology and philosophy, but these deconstructive questions where we start where this person is now, and we start to pull these threads and go back to where did they come from and why such a meteoric rise. Now, on the front end of it, Trump doesn't, as you said, he doesn't fit all of the bill, 100%, but he does fit it in that he had this staggering change of mind about what he believed philosophically and politically, apparently, to now wanting to be the paragon of conservative values in the United States, when he had never been that way before, and everybody bought into it. But there are better examples, and you brought up Vance as a really good example of that. And of course, you have Vance in that role of kind of being on the right side of the spectrum. But you've done a lot of work digging into AOC. And I think what I've heard you say about AOC, and I want my audience and anybody else who's tuning in now, and even people who are tuning into your channel, maybe because I just discovered you and haven't talked, or heard you talk about this. And so this might really, might just kill both our channels or really help. I don't know at this point. I want you to really break down AOC, not just for the right wingers who can't stand her, but for people who really like. I don't know. She's kind of cute, and not she's kind of stupid, but she's kind of cute. So, but I've been one of those. Like, if she just would keep her mouth shut, she's kind of pretty. That's what.
Yeah, she's got
But
dimples.
yeah,
And she's not fat.
right.
That's it.
Not yet. Let her another few years in
Yeah,
politics.
I know. Her meatball phase is definitely coming.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Break down AOC in the fine print, because I don't think people realize just how fabricated AOC is. Because there's nothing about what we've been told about her and her public persona, her public facing side is real at all. At all. And this
Right.
is all verifiable.
Yeah.
This isn't just Monica tinfoil hatting it, which, by the way, we should all be tinfoil hatting it. Yeah. But this isn't just Monica tinfoil hatting it. This is reality. This is who AOC is versus who we've been told she is.
So my I don't follow left-wing politicians very much. So I'm just saying off of what my impression from on the right, what people think of AOC is. She's dumb. She like really stupid, and her brother entered her into a contest, and that's how she ended up being in the running to be the Democratic candidate for Congress. And she supports this a lot by, I haven't checked her out lately, but back in the day when I was following it closely, she would have videos where she's sitting on the floor, drinking wine, eating popcorn, dropping it in her lap, trying to put together IKEA furniture, not being able to figure it out. And just like, she's just this poor, lost, dumb, lottery winner, just like, man of the people, the Zelensky thing, just this unlikely, unexpected, couldn't possibly have anything up her sleeve. Just, the outsider. It's always the outsider.
How could you possibly be planning anything when she's this stupid? Look, folks, none of us can put together IKEA furniture. So
I pay my son to do it. But yes, no, she, yeah. So it gives you this false sense of don't worry about it. But also you think she's dumb, but underneath it all, you think, and what she says is like, it's amazing to me that someone who really is sincere and genuine, authentic, does not come from any kind of money or education. I can make it. Like, and so there's your inspiration. There's your aspiration. There's your American dream. I'm a dreamer. Here you go. And
because that's what we've sold. We've been sold that she's this poverty-stricken, up and coming,
Latina from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Jenny from the block,
Right. That's exactly. We're supposed
even
to
Jenny is not
her.
from the block.
Right. Yeah.
But
we're supposed to perceive her as this, literally, which is kind of flies in the face of everything that she says she advocates for. That, like she's did it all on her own. Right. She did it all.
Yeah. Actually, that's a funny point that she did. That's what
but
she
says,
didn't. But there's her. So I don't know exactly the best way to lay it out, but so I'll just make it like tell you off the top of my head, and then we can get into the details. So her story was that she's from a blue collar working class family from the Bronx. Immigrant parents. Her mother was a cleaning lady. Her father had I think she called it working class, I think was the way she put it. And she, by some whatever miracle, she got into BU. And when she graduated, she had to come home and work 18-hour shifts as a waitress at minimum wage. And anyone who's been a waitress like I have knows that those three things are never, ever true at the same time. Right. And then it morphed into she was a bartender at a place that wasn't even open when she supposedly worked there. And I would like to see her shaking two cocktails at the same time if she's a craft cocktail bartender in the city of New York. And so it said after 18-hour shifts, she couldn't make ends meet. She couldn't keep a roof over her family's head at minimum wage. And let me just tell you, in the 80s, I was a waitress in New York, in the suburbs of New York, and I was taking home after taxes, unrelated to my paycheck, which was zero because you don't make minimum wage, you make $2 an hour. And Reagan started taking taxes out of it. So all I got was the tips in my pocket, $17 an hour. And that was a long time ago. And that was in the suburbs, and that was just in a restaurant. She's a craft cocktail bartender. She's probably making $100 an hour, $50, $75 an hour.
Right.
And
That's what people need to understand. So when Monica just told you about what she was taking home an hour as a bartender in the suburbs of New York,
I was just a waitress. Bartenders
or
make
just a waitress,
more.
as a waitress, that was a staggering amount of money, even for New York.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Staggering
it would absolutely positively would have doubled more than once, even at a very low interest rate. So
and
that
not
would
to
be the equivalent of 40 or $50 an hour now.
and not to put
Not to
Monica
date me.
out.
It's fine.
Not to date Monica. She's just AOC's just a little
I look
younger than
great.
both
It's
of us.
fine.
She's just a little younger than both of us. But so
Yes.
she and that was her claim, is that I worked my way up to becoming this craft, mixologist. Like
Yeah, but the timeline doesn't work either. And by the
right.
way, think about what restaurant do you know? What craft cocktail bar or restaurant with craft cocktails do you know is even open 18 hours a day?
Right.
I mean, think about it. She'd be working breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you know what? The other waitresses would say, no fucking way. I need some shifts.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it when you get fired up.
Sorry, I use
No,
vulgarity
it's
pretty
fine.
good,
It's
too.
my
I never curse or swear, but I do use vulgarity.
my
So,
audience does every once in a while. I get somebody like, I thought you said you're a Christian, and I'm like, Christians do use vulgarities.
yeah, I'm Catholic. I use vulgarity. The only sin of a Catholic using vulgarity is scandal. So if Christians who are not Catholic are watching and they think that if I drink, smoke, and use vulgarity, I'm sinning, I'm making them think that I'm sinning, and that's a sin.
Right.
But if people
nobody
know
else
that,
thinks it's a sin, it's fine. It's
if you know the difference between cursing and swearing and vulgarity. So
right.
cursing is damning somebody, swearing is calling witness, God's
Right.
witness.
Yes.
But using
Absolutely.
bad words
Yeah.
is not. Anyway,
It's
so
all a social
yeah.
construct anyway. Damn it! Since we're on the
Yes.
topic,
So
so
people did not like. You would make big money. You could not get. You couldn't get 60 shifts a week. Like you would never be able to do
right.
that, and the timeline doesn't work. So
And see, this
we
is
can do
but
that
this is
better.
what they count on, Monica, is they count on people not paying attention. And that's what they count on with the left and the right. They count on their base on the left and the right not paying a lick of attention to anything that they say and just trust them. So you throw up a JD Vance, or you throw out an AOC or an Ilhan Omar, or you throw up, I'm going to be careful with this one because I don't know how people are going to respond, or an MTG, who, by the way, just announced her resignation.
Can you believe that?
Actually, I can. I think I can only take so much myself, and I think
you think she's totally legit?
I think she came into it not being legit.
Oh, I might say the opposite, but okay.
See, I think she came into it not being legit. Maybe some grassroots to her creation, but really got fostered into this position of being a really strong, prominent voice in support of. But then she's like, no, I'm done. And then the threats came.
That would have to happen. Her conversion had to have happened, in my opinion, before she was elected, because I lived in Georgia at the time, I think. And I believe she was in a district where she would have won against a strong candidate, and she let them talk her into switching to a district that was a shoo-in and leaving the vulnerable district vulnerable. So I don't really remember the details of that, but I just remember she was cooperative from the beginning, which I don't blame her at all. I mean, whatever, that's fine. I'm not super strict. Like, you can't get anywhere if you can't although there are people like Catherine Bernard who was an elector during the Ron Paul thing, and they told her to throw it, and she wouldn't, and they said, "Well, you'll never have a political career," and she didn't.
And here we are. Guess who
Yes.
doesn't have a political
Right.
career?
So I respect that, but yeah.
Right. So I use MTG as an example of, maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't know. She's one of those. It's kind of a hard read in this particular situation for me. Somebody from your channel's insider stock trading in reference to MTG.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about it.
But here's the reality. When you look at AOC, she fits all these earmarks of fabricated story. She sells the story about herself that's clearly not true. And if you are willing to do any of the work to look at it, and it's there again, for those of you that are watching that are from the Trump side of the argument, or maybe you're kind of I coined the phrase normie cons, who
yeah.
I have my own glossary.
Yeah, nice.
Not
I should
as
open
detailed
it
as-
up. I should crowdsource it.
When you have your own views, it's very easy to point at somebody like AOC and go, yeah, well, she's clearly, she's just a shill for the system. But you need to step out of that echo chamber and look at your own people and say, what about the people in your system that are also shills? And they're clearly tools. And
I feel that way about the Vatican. Like, I understand.
Here's a Roman Catholic saying, I feel that way about the Vatican.
But I'm not defending the Vatican. Like, I stand by the principles of Catholicism, even when the Vatican doesn't, and I will criticize them for that.
Right. Well, that's what makes people like you and I and some of some of the circle. I'm going to make it sound like you and I move in the same circles. We don't. Monica moves way up in these really smart circles, and
we're all in the same gang.
I'm in a union of the. I'm not even officially part of the union of the unknowns.
You should come on to the union of the unwanted. Would you like to?
I would come on the unwanted. The unknowns have let me in, and
no, I'll get you. I'll forward you next time.
Oh, well, thank you. That's the unwanted. They're a very interesting group of people.
I'll have to write this down so I don't forget.
But when you look at, you have to step out of your echo chambers, and when you move in the circles that we move in, even we could get wrapped up in the echo chambers where everybody affirms everything that we're saying because we do agree. All of these people are fake and gay. They're all, they're all created people, and some of them aren't. Some of them just kind of happenstance into it. They just. I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I want to go back and have you finish off your argument for AOC. But I'm like, I look at Massey, and I'm like, I wonder about him at times.
He just married that woman 20 years younger than him. A year. I mean, I don't begrudge him. I'm sure his wife was sick, but it was a little unseemly.
I say this from a guy's perspective. We make stupid decisions when we're sad. And when you got a hot chick who's 20 years
old. Oh, it seems like a good decision. Big snaps on that decision, but
what could possibly go wrong with my career when I marry this?
Yeah, it looks
really hot
a little
chick who's 20 years younger than me.
Especially since his wife's death was shrouded in secrecy.
Right. But you look at him and you're like, he hits all the points for being everything that we hear it all the time in our circles. Give me far less Lindsey Graham's and far more Thomas Massey. And
Ron Paul, even if he was limited hangout, give me that instead of Trump. Give me the Bill of Rights. Don't give me anger. Like,
if you're going to give me a creative person, give me a creative person that at least knows how to, say Bill of Rights.
Yes, let me give you the parameters.
So, and that's what I try to get people to see is like, we're picking on AOC here. We could pick on any number of people. And after you finish off your little thing about, not your little thing, but your kind of your details about AOC, I'm going to upset some of our audience today and bring up a really big name that we've already mentioned, just to talk about the possibility of was he or was he not what we thought he was. So back to AOC, and then I'll
Okay.
get us I'll get us both in trouble.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let me just say so here's the story. So these are the elements of her story that came up many, many times. I believe it was on her campaign website. I mean, there's just one article from like a millennium, whatever, and just like every word looks like a lie. But
By the way, you could see that she has printouts of things. This is
oh
this is
no,
this is
I
who
did
she
this for
is.
you. This isn't even old. Like I did this for you. Okay. Um, so the story was that her father died of cancer, couldn't afford health insurance, all of this stuff, and she had to come back after school to support the household. Let me read you some of the quotes of her story. Mr. Ocasio, unable to afford health insurance, lost his battle with lung cancer, leaving his family without a safety net. So I don't know if you ever known anybody who can't afford health insurance before Obamacare. You get it. You get Medicare or Medicaid. Like you got it. Like no, I never knew anyone. I knew illegal immigrants getting $70,000 heart surgery. I knew them personally in Atlanta and in Dallas. There was a woman who had diabetes, had amputations, had all this stuff. Illegal immigrants. So if you're indigent, you don't have that. You do get, and if you're not, you go bankrupt. So did he die bankrupt? Is that what we're talking about? He couldn't afford health insurance, so he went bankrupt. And people probably know I bet everybody listening knows somebody who went bankrupt because of health bills back in the day.
And this was
It's not old.
before the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, this was way before. This was
yeah,
when she
right.
graduated from
Right.
BU 2011. 2011 is supposedly when this happened. And then and I'm going to debunk this stuff with my little timeline quickly. With the looming threat of losing the family home, Alexandria helped support the family as a waitress, working 18-hour shifts just to ensure her family had a roof over their heads. There's numerous lies in there. Alexandria was eventually faced with the reality of being unable to keep her family financially afloat on a minimum wage salary, which is not what waitresses get. They get $2 an hour. They don't even get minimum wage, but it's not a salary. I actually, for you, looked up because they're supposed to disclose their stuff, their congressional
Right.
stuff.
When
It's
she
very
said
hard
she did
to
this
find
for me, trust me, she did this for me.
Yeah,
She-
I did. But the only bit of financial information in the just like that I could do in a pinch that I could find from her congressional disclosures was in 2018 she claims that she had a salary of $22,000. So a salary is something different because she was doing a lot of other stuff then. And wages from Coffee Shop Taqueria LLC, her wages were $3,588 for the entire year. So, maybe she's quit working or whatever, but if you're making minimum wage, which was $13 an hour then, or $12 an hour then, I looked it up.
in her region, was it New York? Yep.
Yep, New York City. If you were, then she says she was making minimum wage. So that would be 299 hours at minimum wage. And she said she was working 18 hours a day. So that would have been 16 days, and say she was working 5 or 6 hour, days a week. She was doing this for 3 weeks in 2018. Right. So look, I would say, well, maybe it was before that because they were saying it was before that, but this says she was working as a waitress in 2018. And so yes, okay.
It's the story. It's building the
Right.
story. It's building this narrative that now everybody just takes in because, well, why would she make that up?
Well, I want her proof from 2011, 2012, but you're not going to get it
Right.
because it's too far back, I think, from the
Right.
financial stuff. But here's the thing. Her father died of lung cancer, I assume. The reason he died intestate. So I don't know why that would even matter. I think it would just go automatically to the mom, but it didn't transfer automatically to the mom because of unpaid taxes. So they had to fight in court. And when probate was finally resolved, they sold the house for $300,000, which they kept. And I'm not aware of their mortgage situation. Later, her mother moved to Florida because she didn't like the taxes in New York. These are not That is not the behavior of an indigent person. And if she had said, I realize how horrible it is to try to make ends meet in a high tax state, it would have checked out with her story. She should be a Republican. But but here's the thing. Oh, and there was a whole story about her coworker didn't like her at where they worked at a waitress together. That place wasn't even open. Did not open until 2015. And this story said that she started there in 2013. 2013 was after the house got sold for $300,000. So none of this stuff checks out. So she was born in 1989. Oh, this is another thing. Like
Boy,
a
if
kid
that
from the
doesn't
box.
make you feel old.
I know, right? I know. Well, she was the youngest woman in Congress ever. So she moved to Yorktown Heights in 1994 at the age of 5. So she says she's from the Bronx. And what she says carefully is, I think that the zip code you're born into is a burden, because she was born in the Bronx. Like I was born in Brooklyn, but she was raised in Yorktown Heights. Her father was an architect.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is the thing. Is like Yorktown
Yeah.
Heights is not the Bronx.
No, and her father was an architect. So she calls him working class. My father wasn't an architect. Working class. My father did not go to college. The architects go to college. It's actually kind of a hard job to get.
Yeah,
Be a working architect is that's kind of cool, actually. All right. So the reason that there was a problem with the house was because he was intestate, and intestate only matters if you have a pot to piss in, not if you don't have a pot to piss in.
Right. There you go. That's it. And just so people understand the term intestate, because lawyers speak, it's contested, correct?
There's no will.
Yeah, there's no will. So
there's no testament.
Yeah.
This is my last will and testament. If you don't have it, you're intestate. You have not testified to where you want it to go. But it's a problem. It was probably a battle with the state because of the taxes that were owed. So they're, tax cheat. I hate to use the word tax cheat. I don't give a crap. I think they should be principled tax avoiders for their own safety, and so they don't have to pay for people getting murdered with their guns and stuff. But all right, in 2009, so she went to BU, which is not a cheap or easy school to go to. She probably got a scholarship because she got these, she had some merit things. National Hispanic Institute at the age of 16. She was in the legislative, model Congress or whatever.
Which, by the way, the model Congress, folks, if you've never looked into the model Congress, if anybody comes out of the model Congress, you need to be worried.
And you have to. Yeah, I wanted to do it. I was the youngest of 9. I wanted to do stuff. I was like signing up for things. I would try to do sports and everything, but my mother barely even drove. We moved from Brooklyn when I was like a baby. So I just couldn't end up doing it. You don't realize the kind of resources and support you need in the suburbs, especially then. Well, I don't know about 90s, but when I was growing up, I couldn't do any of this. This was for kids whose parents were way more savvy and plugged in.
Connected, yep.
Yeah, and they knew what to do. They knew to get ahead of it. They knew how to get you prepared for it, have you join the debate team. I didn't know anything. Right. So, and I'm just saying, the reason I'm comparing it with myself is that I have this actual story. You know what I mean? I was a waitress. I dropped out of school. My father kicked me out of the house for not going to mass on Sunday, which I do go to mass now, but I didn't like being kicked out for that. If you'd asked me nicely. Anyway, so in 2009, when she was an undergrad, she interned for Ted Kennedy. 2009. So before she was schlepping 18 hours a day, making minimum wage as a waitress, which can't be possible to save her parents from paying property taxes, she was working for Ted Kennedy.
Right.
It's the intern for Ted Kennedy as an undergrad. I mean,
but she came out of nowhere.
She came out in 2010. Before she graduated, she gave a TED talk.
But she came out of nowhere.
Absolutely. She won a contest to be in Congress. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. Oh my gosh. I need a Snickers bar. I can't believe my brother entered me this contest. I can't believe it. Come on. So, all right. So she graduates. in 2011, the House comes out of probate in 2012. So I just, how long she did this, I don't know. Then in 2013, the very next year, she returned to BU as a speaker. She was the lead educational strategist at Gage Inc. or whatever, founder of Brook Avenue Press, partnered with Sunshine Bronx Business Incubator to design entrepreneurial curricula for those interested in launching their own enterprise. This is a lot of the stuff like Stacey Abrams does, like these real gonna use the government, gonna use politics. Like these things were funded. They're government funded things. They're kind of shell stuff, hinky kind of stuff. And so for me, what this says to me, and then in 2016, she started working for Bernie Sanders. And that's when her mom moved to Florida to have a better tax situation. So to me, when I see all those internships or scholarships or institutional ways to get government money and stuff, that's a person who is being groomed with her consent and her abilities to be exactly what she is. But they decided that and Stacey Abrams, same thing. Stacey Abrams has 10 freaking internships from like the State Department, the Salzburg Foundation, the Marshall Fund. It's unbelievable. She went to Yale Law School. Her sister went to Yale Law School. She's a federal judge. Her other sister was a scientist at the CDC. Her parents went to great colleges, yet she's like the son of a preacher man. She's whatever. It's so they. And Stacey Abrams has said, you can tell by looking at me that you can trust me. And that's the bottom line. And that's why people want Trump too. It's the same thing. Like they think he's an outsider. I'm like, he's definitely not an outsider. How could he convince you of that? But not all creative persons are created for that. I mean, Comey, Vance, Zuckerberg, they're created for different reasons. And Trump's thing was, I'm a billionaire. Like he's the opposite story to make you feel like he doesn't need this.
Here and this is all right, everybody, strap it in. And by the way, everybody who's commenting from Monica's side, we're seeing your comments. We're not ignoring you, but this is not one of those chats. If you have a question or a point that you really want to make,
what is the bullshit? He calls bullshit on what?
Soaring Sparrow Risings. Soaring Sparrow is chatting from Rumble, so I don't know if they're going to be able to see.
I'm just asking. So someone's saying I call bullshit, and I just want to know on what? On her, on me, on
right. And if it's on the conversation we're having, please let us know what you're calling.
Yeah, I want to totally want
to. Or if you're agreeing that AOC's story is bullshit.
Either way,
please let us know. But this next part is really going to. There are things about the recently deceased Charlie Kirk that reek of the same fabrication. You have this meteoric rise that really seemed to come out of nowhere in late 2015, 2016. There's just this Charlie Kirk that just appears out of nowhere. He's doing stuff on campuses, and he's got videos that are just popping up, and
he's on Fox News at the age of 17.
Yeah. He's just destroying leftists left and right, ironically. But we don't know anything about him. We really don't know anything about him. His family is virtually silent. Like nobody knows anything. He allegedly was like a super intelligent guy, was, tabbed to go to Ivy League schools is what I was, I've been told he was on his way, on this Ivy League track, started college, then decided he didn't want to get in to college, dropped out, and then became this thing, which there again, I'm not saying you have to go to the university to be intelligent. I mean, look at me. I'm super smart and I didn't graduate from college. What I'm what I'm wondering is do you see earmarks? And I know you haven't studied Charlie as in depth as you have some of your others, like Stacey Abrams and the Peter Thiels and the Mark Zuckerbergs. Um, but do you see earmarks in Charlie that match the earmarks of AOC, but just from the right wing narrative, without having
I didn't
studied
even
him
know who he
deeply?
was when I heard that he was killed, even though he followed me on Twitter. Like he followed like thousands of people. Somebody said he followed me on Twitter, and I was like, oh, he followed me on Twitter. I'm sure I followed him too, but I didn't know who he was. I just sometimes like follow people who, like, if you
Right. No, I get
somebody
what you're
follows me
saying.
or retweets, I just like I'll follow like the first 10 people on their feed, and just to make connections. So
Especially when you're
anyway,
shadow banned.
yeah, I like to reach out, and so I really didn't know who he was, but when I looked into it and I was like, is this guy legit? As soon as I saw that he was on Fox News at 17, and then he was bankrolled by a guy who I'd never heard of, a billionaire. And then I just dug one layer deeper and found that that guy was an associate of the Koch brothers. And that, that I do believe gets you to oil
Right.
money.
Very,
So, yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah. And that gets you into a narrative about the Middle East. And then they started saying, well, he was changing his opinion on Israel. I was like, well, they definitely told him to say that. So, I mean, it could be as simple as nailing a squirrel to the tree. Like, it's perfect because Netanyahu came out and was like, I did not kill Charlie Kirk for saying bad things about Israel. And anybody who doesn't want to be killed might say, don't say bad things about Israel. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I just think that was all fake. But he was
to
bankrolled
quote
by somebody, and that's
to
that.
to quote the Bard from Hamlet, methinks the lady doth protest too much. Yeah. So when BB came out and had to,
Yeah.
felt like he had to make this very public statement that I did not have Charlie, deleted from the face of the earth. I'm
Yeah.
like, was anybody
Yeah. Why would you
genuinely
say
asking at
that?
this point? Was anybody genuinely asking you that,
Yeah.
BB? Were you what the?
He has an acting coach, by the way. They probably all do. But I was like looking at somebody's bio, and it's like, and it said Netanyahu's acting coach. I was like, really? So these things are all scripted, obviously. He said that for a reason, probably to make it look like that was the issue, to make it look like Charlie was, if you did dig in and find his original source of funding, you could say, instead of thinking it's a psyop, say, yeah, but he went rogue, which I think it never happens. Maybe if somebody does legitimately get killed, they have been rogue, but I just don't think anyone can get that far anymore. They never have to resort to that.
That's, and there again, neither one of us has dug into. I've been paying attention to the periphery of the the CK issue, and that's been the thing that has stood out to me in his story, has been that meteoric rise, seemingly coming out of nowhere, very quickly connected to some very big power players. And I guess, I don't know, maybe you could say maybe there's jealousy. Maybe this 55-year-old hack sitting here with you today is, maybe I'm just jealous that I'm not getting big sponsors. I don't want them. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I don't want the big sponsors. So you could say that, but I look at what happens, and every single time, and this is what, when that person is no longer functioning in a role where they can drive the political divide wedge deeper than it already is, they have to be taken off the stage. And the direction that, I don't even like to call it our republic anymore, because you just sat down with
Our
you just sat,
technocracy.
yeah, you just sat down with a very interesting individual and had a very long conversation about Lincoln the other day.
Yes,
Yeah,
Louisiana. And I did Pearl off too.
yeah.
Did a couple.
I don't think we've been a republic since at the latest 1860. So,
Sounds right.
yeah, at the latest it was 1860. I go back to that, but the direction that the country that we currently reside in is headed, they have to keep the pressure on to drive a bigger divide between us on a sociological, philosophical level. And so if that means you can lift up people in this created person's pattern to drive that wedge in to having debate that causes division, great. But if the only way to continue to cause that division is to turn it into violence, then they have to come up with a way to stoke violence. And I think we saw that in a very rapid sense going back to 2020, when the lockdowns and the shutdowns weren't really effectually accomplishing what they wanted. So they had to, a la Minnesota, they had to George Floyd us. And when that fire, so to speak, started to die, then they had to give us Wisconsin, which then gave us Kyle Rittenhouse. And, you look there again, you look at George Floyd, everything about that guy is weird. Just
Totally. And
weird.
Derek Chauvin too.
Right. And Derek Chauvin, just an absolutely weird manifestation of individuals all in one place at the same right time, which is not unheard of. You do get some of these surprising connections that do literally seemingly come out of nowhere. But we just have these situations in 2020 where they ramped up the violent divide between the ideological sides of the arguments. And then you gave us, not you, but then the powers that be gave us January of 2021. And the increase in violence there. But now it's apparently right-wing violence. And
honestly, I knew they wanted to do violence, so I figured they would have Biden lose, because I thought the left was so much more easily incited to violence. And I still think that they are, and that you'd have to convince me there was any violence at all on January 6th. Any of those, I think they thought they were going to incite it and they didn't. And they had to stage some stuff and film it later and whatever.
To the tune of 250 plus federal agents dressed as MAGA people on the ground.
Yeah, there were a lot
Washington,
of things.
D.C.
Yeah, a friend of mine was there.
Bomber being a Capitol police officer who is now in the CIA.
Who?
The Capitol police officer who is now in the CIA was the pipe bomb placer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no investigation.
But I think they were trying to incite the violence, but you couldn't get it.
Soaring Sparrow answered your question from over on Rumble and said, "I call it on AOC's mythology." Yeah, she's saying that 100% 100% BS. It's absolutely it's 100% mythology.
Yeah, mythology, exactly.
So even if guys like Charlie Kirk aren't created persons, let's say Charlie is that, he is the spark of life in the pool of political genetic soup that gave life to a new breed of, conservative commentator. He is surrounded by a lot of fake people, a lot of created people, many created people, not the least of which is deep connections to Peter Thiel. And his widow, deep connections to Donald Trump before she met Charlie. So there, as we look at people, and Monica, and you want to try and tell people, like, we need to know these things. What's the importance of knowing these things? Because, like I quoted there again, Josh from Disaffected, which, by the way, if you've never followed Josh, if you've never listened to anything that Josh does, you should really listen to Josh Slocum from the Disaffected podcast, because it would be right up your alley. I'd like to see you have him on sometime, because he has some very interesting takes about how many of the people that are in positions of power, both on the left and right, come from the cluster B personality disorder group.
Oh, interesting. Is that a political ponerology, like there's some word for
Yeah, I don't.
like
Yeah, I know.
pathologies that
I
exist at the top.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I'm sure he's probably versed in that, but he just talks about it in politics as a whole. I seriously look up Josh Slocum from the Disaffected Pod and tell him that I sent you. You guys will get along famously.
All right.
Uh,
Awesome.
but what is the importance? Because I don't want to cap you out at your max, and I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
you got a
No,
heart out. So,
that's fine. Yeah.
what's the importance of
Yeah.
knowing these things besides just being a noticer like Josh is and
Yeah.
like I am and like you are?
I think that basically 3 reasons. First of all, I think it's possible that the entire human history has been, to the extent we've had any liberty or human civil rights, human rights, like dignity, any of that, that it's just been this, millennia long kicking of the can. You got to kick that can of tyranny. It's kind of what Jefferson was saying, like every 20 years the tree of liberty should be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants, something like that. You've got to keep kicking the can. You have to make them work really hard. Look at the 24/7 propaganda they have to plow out just to keep everybody mesmerized by their lies. So you got to push back. You can't give up. Also, it's helpful to be able to recognize what's coming so you can prepare. And prepare can mean different things to different people. It can mean the Benedict option, which is, get completely off grid and make sure you've got your chickens and your potatoes. It can mean make sure your kids don't go into coding because AI is going to take all their jobs, and make sure that your kid can do something good, like be a vet, but doesn't mean they have to drop out of school. Or some combination of that. And the last thing I'll say, and then you can go, and then I have is that we need to, and this is actually a spiritual work of mercy, if I'm not mistaken, we need to make sure that our kids understand, or the next generation understand, the principles of liberty and justice and good governance. Read Bastiat's The Law, read the
Mhm.
Constitution. It's not the best, but it's definitely the best we're going to have. The Bill of Rights, understand
Monica
it.
is an Articles of Confederation girl.
Yes,
She's even
yes.
more hardcore than TC. So
100%. And if you go and look at, I feel like that was the problem with Trump, is that people weren't comparing what he was saying to the touchstone of liberty and the principles of justice, like Ron Paul was doing.
yeah, and that's I, what you'll note with a lot of these people is this reality where they will give talking points that sound so darn good on the left or the right, whatever they're trying to appeal to. They have these really strong talking points, and you're like, man, that really touches me on a deeply emotional level or a philosophical level. But the reality is are they really even saying anything? Like what are they actually saying? What's the truth of what they are saying? Because a lot of times what they claim they're saying is not at all what you believe. You just hear what you believe. You form a construct around the words that they're saying, and then you have to cling to that because, to some degree, in the business fallacy of sunk cost, the sunk cost fallacy, we get that same sunk cost fallacy in our philosophy, in our worldview, oftentimes.
My father
And
taught me when I was, sorry, go ahead, finish.
and 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 that's very dangerous. It's easy to do, it's easy to fall into, but it's very, very dangerous. And that's what these created persons do, is they feed that cognitive dissonance in your mind and that echo chamber. And unless you get past the talking points and the sound bites of what they're saying, you're just going to be stuck in that loop until you break out of it. Go ahead. Your father was
Yeah,
saying.
my last word will be that my father taught me when I was young, and I really did not understand it until I had experienced it over the years. He always really drilled principles into my head, both like moral principles and political principles, really drilled into my head. And he said, if you really understand your principles, no decision will be hard. No one can bullshit you, because you will always in an instant be able to compare what they are saying or doing with your principles. If they don't match, no, the answer is no. And I think that's why it can be so persuasive to have these political arguments. And that's why they cut out rhetoric from the education system, because that's when you recognize the difference between argument and principles. And,
Right.
and we need to understand the principles, and we need to be able to see what they're doing and saying, recognize the patterns of how they're trying to get around those principles. We could have a whole nother show on that.
Right. Well, Monica, I know you got a heart out, and I
Yes,
really appreciate you taking the time.
you're right on it.
So
Thank
tell
you.
everybody where you can be found, even though you're shadow banned in most places. But tell everybody where you can.
Well, you can
Tell,
look for me. It's at Monica Perez Show. I consider Twitter to be basically like a diary. Like, I just keep it's like show notes. I don't expect anyone to see it, but I'll go back and look at my thoughts about articles or whatever. So that's not a bad place to go. I love my
Substack.
Substack. I'm going to hit it super hard when the dust settles, literally. But that's also Monica Perez Show, and monicaperezshow.com. I probably have 1,000 archived shows on there, and the glossary.
And yes, the glossary. Monica, you go. If you can leave your server open so we can.
Yeah, so it uploads. I certainly will.
Uploads
Okay.
for you, and I
Thank you,
will
everyone.
do
Thank
my
you.
close, and I won't say
See you
anything
soon.
that will ruin your career.
It's already been done. I've already been suppressed and depressed along the way. Thank you so much for having me. Bye, y'all.
We'll see you again soon. The wonderful and glorious pod mother, as we refer to her, she is a phenomenal voice, and I just, if you've never listened to Deep Dives with Monica, you really need to. I wanted to have this conversation to really plant this idea for people to pick up the reality that there is a lot more going on in the political sphere than we think. We hear so much about the deep state. We hear so much about people behind the scenes, the bureaucrats, well, quite honestly, William F. Buckley, who, by the way, was not a good conservative hero, said that we need a bureaucratic tyranny. This small government, pro liberty, anti tyranny guy said that we need bureaucratic tyranny to survive. He advocated for it, just in the destruction of communism. And it sounds like a really good thing, but it's not. And what these created people effectively serve as are spoilers. They really are. They're spoilers. And so unless you're willing to really dig down into the people that you say you're going to support, you're not doing yourself any favors at all. You have to know the history of the people that you're supporting. Many of you know that I co-host a show on another network, on Veteran Nation, another platform. And one of my co-hosts over there, Mike Skipper Arthur, good friend, loyal to the end. He and I would lay down our lives for each other. I can say that without any hesitation. I know that Skipper would lay down his life for me, and I would do the same for him. But we disagree on some people like Trump. We both voted for Trump, but I believe that Trump has always been and will always be dangerous. I don't think that he is what he says he is. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to think I might never vote again in a federal level election, at least for president, because everything is so fake now. You're never going to have an option to vote for somebody at the federal level who hasn't been put there on purpose to mislead you or to take you down a path that you would not normally want to go down on your own. We say it all the time. Well, I'm just voting for the lesser of two evils. Look, folks, you're still voting for evil. And where your vote matters the most is at the local level. Who is your mayor? Who is your city council member? Who is on the school board? Who is in your county commission? Who's your state senator and your state representative? Those people are far more important than who's president. Those people are far more important than who's in the U.S. House or the U.S. Senate. So I'm not telling you to be completely disconnected, and I'm not saying be completely disenfranchised of your own volition. What I'm saying is take that investment of time, take that investment of energy, pour it into your local level. Get to know the local candidates. Vet them on a personal level. Show up to meetings. Study these notes that that Monica and I were talking about today, and I'll be putting out shorts from this stream. I would strongly encourage you to study people and get to know their history, get to know their roots, find out who they are on the real, on the down low of who they are. And that's part of the reason why I do Libertarian Lowdown. It's to get to know people, fellow libertarians that move in my circles. I don't move in Monica's circles. Monica is like a power, she's like a power voice. Like everybody knows Monica in the anarcho-capitalist libertarian movement with podcasts. Like she's the real deal. Listen to her. Pay attention to the things that she has to say. She will help you make better decisions on a philosophical worldview perspective level. And tune into me, because I do different things than Monica does. I'm all about government accountability, holding police accountable, holding social services accountable. And I'm covering some stories right now, just in Minnesota alone, that will blow your mind if you pay attention to my channel. Soaring Sparrow, I have a master's degree in early American history and literature. I absolutely love your podcast name. Thank you very much for tuning in. First time viewer that I'm aware of. So I really appreciate that. I hope that you're over on Rumble and that you choose to follow me there. And if you have a YouTube account, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe over here on YouTube as well. One of, part of why I do what I do, and I talk about the Think Local and Act Local movement, is because of my podcast name, the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. It is a throwback to the early days that led up to the American War for Independence, the American War of Secession, withdrawing from the British Empire. It was a Christian movement of throwing off the chains of tyranny. And we spend so much time arguing about things from a left and right perspective that we just keep ourselves enslaved in chains of slavery as it relates to tyranny. And it's time to stop. And that's why I have so much respect for Monica. If you have to choose between Monica's content and mine, I hope you would never have to make that decision. But if you have to choose between Monica's content and mine, I would tell you to choose Monica's. I listen to Monica every week, sometimes daily. She is that good. So I'm going to be doing some more content this weekend, some more live streams. We're going to be doing one tomorrow for sure, addressing the story that I started last week about baby Haven being medically kidnapped back in July here in Minnesota, when law enforcement and social workers colluded to fabricate reasons to take her from her parents. So the next episode of that will be coming out tomorrow. And I've got a couple of other stories that I'm working on. We're about to blow the doors off of something with the Minnesota State Patrol. I don't want to rush it, but I want to get it out there so that we can really expose some stuff that's been happening. So I really appreciate everybody that tuned in. Thank you to the super chats. Thank you to the new channel members over on YouTube. Thank you to the people who have been channel members for a while. If you like my content, please subscribe. Please become a channel member on YouTube. I'm working on channel memberships on Rumble. I would love to have some channel memberships on Rumble. I'm trying to figure out if I believe I have it set up, but I don't know if it's working over there. If you would prefer to go through something like Subscribestar, you can find me on Subscribestar at Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. If you want to come in at a channel show producer level, you pick that top level, you will get shout out by name. And there are some extra perks with that, like a 17.76% discount on merch. I don't have any sitting around right now readily available just because I don't get it until people are ready to order it. So I really appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to bring this to a close because I've got some stuff to work on. Got to hit the treadmill for the second time again today, and I have to go and make pasta, not noodles, folks. I had to go make pasta by hand. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, please follow Monica on YouTube, Rumble, Substack. Find her, study her stuff. Please come back. Please share this out to your friends. And until next time, my friends, fight for your freedom. It is yours. Fight for your liberty. Oh, Ozzy, thanks you. That was worth stopping for. Ozzy Crosby 2092, thank you for becoming a channel member. That is freaking phenomenal. Thank you for bringing that in at the end. I really appreciate that. So now I will get this done. Fight for your freedom. It is yours. Fight for your liberty. It belongs to you. And Sic Semper Tyrannis.
We are going for liftoff in T-30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.